Welcome in, everyone. We are on the other side of college week one. We are looking ahead to week two. We got a lot of great matchups to talk about, some data, some value, and wow, some sounds like some hot takes as well. So stick around. You're not going to want to miss it all. Let's get into it.
Give a damn about a hater when I feel like it. Not today, not today, not today, not tomorrow. Get out my way, please. I'm trying to get paid. Not today, not today.
Okay, boys. No reason to beat around the bush here. We got a lot to break down, a lot to discuss. Let's just jump right into one of the, if not the marquee matchup of college football week two, and that is Texas going up against Michigan. So could not be more stoked. Number one, that this game is being played, and number two, that we actually have a little bit of value in this game, despite what the graphic may tell you here. So Seth, lead us in, kick us off here, man. What are you looking at and thinking about for this game?
Yeah. So first and foremost, the pass game. Texas is coming in after week one with the 18th most or highest pass efficiency. And we're looking at Michigan at the 81st pass defense. This is a huge mismatch for Texas versus Michigan. They're pretty equal on the run game. But the one thing I want to point out to you is that negative 25.7. This is how efficient Texas's defense was. This is how you interpret that. They were 25% better than an average team, aka they allowed 25% less teams to get to the 40 or better. So these defenses are not even comparable, and their offenses aren't comparable. Unfortunately for the Michigan Wolverines in week two, after a lackluster week one, we unfortunately we got to go burnt orange. We're hooking them, and it's alt season. Okay, it's alt season. Meaning 13 and a halfs are on the play at plus 164 and 20 and a halfs are on play at plus 340. I do not think these are crazy. Our raw model number makes this 22. Okay. You regress to the market. You want to be smart. I understand. We're looking at a team, and I was on the fence all season. Michigan returning 48% of their offense, 74% of their defense. The offense that they put out there last week, not knowing who their quarterback was, abysmal. And this is a Fresno State team that themselves is not a highly ranked offense. At least Colorado State was touted as being a really, really good offense and has an NFL type quarterback. And by the way, the market was buying Colorado State all week. Yep. I think this is a potential bloodbath. We have a 4.5. We would bet a 6.5 if you can get it in the market. You see that there's no resistance yet at the 7.5. I don't know that there will be. Personally, I think we're obviously comfortable with the 4.5 to 6.5, but alt season, give me 13.5, give me a 20.5 for some sprinkles.
Okay. Ooh. Steve, you riding?
Right off the jump with the hot take. I love it. 100%. And just kind of put some context in it for those of you who are maybe new here. So we talk about, what we're making these numbers and kind of the edge betting here. If you have a raw number at minus 22 and you take an alt line, minus 13.5, that's still giving you over 16% edge on that game if you actually make the number minus 22. So to Seth's point, there is a lot of leeway here. And what are we looking at here, right? So obviously you have the week ones matchups where Texas versus Colorado State, absolute bloodbath, 52-0. I mean, that thing was never close. And we had CSU, so, a moment of silence. And then Michigan, 30-10 over Fresno State. But here's my issue. If you go back and you look right here at the graphs, and like Seth mentioned, you're going to hear us talk a lot about why yards per game and points per game are not great predictive metrics, not nearly as good as EPA or expected points added. And you look at the defensive EPA and you see there that's where Texas shines. My concern here, if you're a Michigan backer, Michigan is a dual tandem running back team. And that's how they grind you down. Donovan Edwards had a lackluster day against a Fresno State defense that quite frankly has a lot to be desired, right? Especially when you consider going up against Texas. And so if they cannot get Edwards going, and this is going to be an absolutely long day for this offense. And then you look at the offensive metrics. I mean, again, Texas is blowing Michigan out of the water. So I'm with you, Seth. I'm on this all the way. I mean, this is the championship matchup we thought we were getting last year. Yeah. And obviously it's not the same because Michigan team is completely turned over and completely different. But I think Texas is going to come in here and absolutely beat the brakes off of Michigan. So I'm with you. I love the 6.5. that we got there. I love the alt spread, sprinkles, all of that. Now, I will say what I didn't notice, and I'm not sure if you guys caught this. So, looking at the odds screen, and we use unabated. If you guys are looking for a free odds screen, use code BTB for a free 5-day trial. Shout out. But I did see some Michigan's plus 7.5 starting to get a little expensive.
Ooh, yeah.
So not quite movement there, not quite there. But if you're gonna be a Texas backer, go ahead and back them, I guess is what we're saying. But if you want to come back into being responsible, right? Look at the actual weighted numbers and what we're looking at. You can see on the negative on the chart we have up there with the EVs. If you look at the weighted number at minus 7.5, if you can have a little bit of patience and get a -7, that may actually help you out. Now, it's not going to change your win rate. You're not going to win anymore, but it does give you the push probability.
Yeah.
Your cover percentage doesn't actually change. It's a little counterintuitive because you're not winning more. But if you're going to back Texas anyway, you're not trying to get as dangerous as we are. I would have a little bit of patience, keep a sharp eye on those lines, and see if you can get any sort of buyback. But again, the risk you take is this thing go from 7.5 to 8 to 8.5 to who knows how much.
Yeah, and let's be fair. I mean, let's take the tout hat off and let's put the professional hat back on. Look, these are interesting bets because of the situation we're in. Can we see a top talented team like Michigan figure something out? Yes, it is definitely possible. But what we're seeing in week 1 was such an overperformance from Texas and such an underperformance from Michigan that is a unique opportunity. This is kind of a, step on the neck and finish the job kind of thing. Now, we have limited data. I think that's the biggest thing I can point out. So these things can change quickly. Michigan can all of a sudden look, fairly competent. And if anything, defense is where they would do it. The stat that gives me the most concern if I'm a Michigan fan is that run rate over expected. You can see that team was running the ball 2.5% less than an average team. And this is with a dual threat, not knowing who their quarterback is. What's going on there? To me, that means they couldn't run it against Fresno. Okay, but the concern there is you can see the mismatch here against the pass EPA for Texas, and they were throwing the ball almost 6% more than an average team. Yeah. That could be a really, really long day for Michigan, and I think that's where you're going to see those alts. Now, the market is efficient for a reason. We regress to the market for a reason. I think you're going to see buys at 8. You may see a buy at 7.5. I don't think you're going to see 6.5s again. I think the 6.5s are long gone.
Probably long gone. Yep. Would think so. So, I mean, very fascinating movement early in the week so far. And to your last point, Seth, I think that's the one question mark, I guess the biggest question mark I should rephrase with the Michigan team is that what is their actual plan at quarterback? Because they use both of those guys, and it just didn't feel like there was a real sense of either urgency or strategy surrounding it. I'm not sure they know, quite frankly, which is a scary thought, scary proposition. So it's really hard for me to find a reason to want to back Michigan, despite everything we just said. So as great as I feel about it, and for what we make the number and what our model says, I'm not, let's not go full tilt here, but, if you want to sprinkle, scale down a little bit on some alts, do whatever you want to do. Great. Fine. We think it's not a bad bet in terms of value. Just be careful. It's only week 2, boys. Okay.
Yeah. No, but can I say real quick though, can we throw in, so see my quarterback battle, can we throw in Alex Orji for kind of the best, football names along with General Booty and I forget what the other top third one was, but some great headlines, great jersey it's coming out of this season.
Yeah, no, those are top tier names for sure.
Yes, they are. All right, Michigan and Texas is going to be a hell of a way to really kick off the Saturday because that's one of the early games for sure. But we got a lot of other matchups to break down too, so let's get into them. Next one up, let's dive into Baylor and Utah, shall we? This one's interesting. Both teams had a FCS primer in week 1. But my kind of question to you guys is, what do we think we know about both of these teams? We talked a little bit about Cam Rising and his, him being the savior and all that type of stuff potentially for Utah, and he played well. He played well week 1 again, both against FCS. So slight caveat, but. And then I didn't get to watch all or actually most of the Baylor game, but they handle business in their own right too. So what do we know about these teams and what are we expecting, Steve?
I mean, played well. Yeah, I listen. I get where you're coming from about Utah playing Southern Utah, but I mean 10 for 15, 254, and 5 TDs. Yeah, I mean Cam balled out, and I kind of want to put it back on you, Kev, if I'm being honest, because we have this question of is Cam rising, and if you guys follow us, we talk about we're looking at the futures, right? Looking at can Utah clear 9.5 games, right? Was the total here. So looking
Yeah.
at like are we pretty low on this team coming in, especially in a brand new Big 12? Where is this hype coming from with Cam coming back? We didn't see him effectively all of last year. And yeah, I'm with you. It's a primer. What do we know about them? I don't know off of one game, but Kevin, I want to throw it back to you. Do you believe that he is risen? He is rising?
Ooh.
Yeah. And I think until otherwise proven, he is going to take this team to probably slightly higher heights than they were last year. I think it's hard for me to kind of convince myself otherwise. Again, we're talking about a sample size of 1 week. Like, I'm not ready to crown the dude, Heisman winner, none of that nonsense. But what is he? He's like 25 or something. He's one of the older guys,
26.
isn't he? 26.
He's older.
Shout out.
Cam Rising is older than 4 NFL starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, his prefrontal cortex is fully matured at this point. He's playing chess. Everyone else is out there playing checkers. Okay, so.
Well, and that's exactly what the numbers say, quite frankly. We're on this, we're on the 17.5. We show value at the 14 if you want to keep chasing it. Starting to get bought back, you can get 14.5s. What the numbers basically show is you're hoping, or you're showing that Baylor's going to slow this Utah offense down. Utah's the 12th overall offensive pass efficiency team. Baylor's the 30th in pass defense. Utah's the 73rd in rush offense. Baylor's the 31st in rush defense. But on the offensive side, Baylor leaves a lot to be wishing for. They're the 64th best passing team and the 82nd offensive team. If you're going to cover this, if we're going to cover this, it is going to be a defensive battle. Now, the interesting thing that I saw in the data is we spent a lot of time in the offseason calculating and deriving something called weighted EPA, which has us we asked the data to tell us what types of plays are more correlated with winning games. And when we look at the weighted EPA, we see something different. Baylor is actually the 26th overall defense and Utah's the 34th. So again, another data point that this is going to be a defensive battle if you're going to cover this number. Now, the market seems to agree with us. Again, this opened at 17.5 all the way down to 14. So we're kind of in agreement here with the rest of the market. But to me, that's the game. If you're a live better out there and Cam Rising comes out and he has risen and he throws a quick, four play drive and they score, it's probably going to be a long day for Baylor and maybe a good live bet. But if you see something opposite, you see really struggle 3 and out, it's probably going to be a game like the market believes, which is going to be a defensive battle, and they're going to run the ball a lot. The ball that eats up clock. It's hard to cover 17 points, 14 points in those types of games.
Yeah, and to your point earlier about Baylor's offense leaving something to be desired. I mean, just last week again against an FCS school, they were 110th out of 138 or whatever it is in EPA per rush. They ran for 164 yards, but only averaged 3.8 a carry. So when they tried to run the ball, they was kind of tough sledding against the FCS school. So against Utah and that defense, that good defense that they have, like what kind of movement are they going to be able to get? So that worries me, a little bit as well. But I don't know, man. Maybe he has risen. Maybe that's all we need. Maybe we're just.
I hope not. I'm under 9. I'm under 9.5, quite a lot. So.
Yeah, and then just make a quick point for those who are listening. So if you are kind of late to this party and you are kind of chasing that steam there, so when we make these model numbers, right? Again, like Seth mentioned, a big part of it is kind of regressing back to the market. The market has more wisdom than you. This is not the place to have your ego. Check it out the door. And so you can see here when we made this number earlier, the model output, the regress number was a little bit higher. But right now you can see on the screen here, we still make Baylor plus 12, right? And the current spread plus 14.
Yeah, there's still value to bet it.
Yeah, so you can get this down. I mean, if you want to be technical, you can get this down to 12.5 and still have a smidge of value on there as a positive EV bet. We talk about key numbers, 14 being a key number there. Normally, we want to be very cautious around that, but don't let that stop you. You can pass through 14, get the plus 13. That's still a positive EV bet at a plus 12 output.
And the market is speaking. They're buying the 14s. This now moved back to 14.5. So feel at ease. If you want to be a Baylor backer with us, 14.5, you would get my praise. But that's what you're looking for. Quite frankly, you're going to know if that bet's dead or alive within 5 minutes, basically.
I feel the same way about this next one. This next game is going to be another just ball breaker in terms of like excitement, value, anticipation. Colorado and Nebraska. Okay, I love the fact, and I hate that I love it so much. I love the fact that we identified some value on Nebraska on this one. I absolutely love it. That being said, I don't know why my palms are getting sweaty a little bit on this one. You guys gotta like
these
talk
weeks,
me.
mom spaghetti.
Yeah, exactly. All that. So keep me honest here.
Okay.
We have a grand total of one observation of Dylan Raiola. I think I'm saying his name right.
Dylan Raiola.
Raiola. Okay, the true freshman starter for Nebraska now. Truest of true. He played well and he showed out, and he's the second coming, yada yada. But Colorado's D is nothing to be like, nothing to write home about. They leave a lot to be desired for sure. But do we really trust a true freshman quarterback here?
I have some numbers here to kind of break this game down, because in a lot of ways, on face value, you would think it would meet a lot of the same criteria that the Texas game would have, which is Nebraska by 1 billion. But the data kind of show a bit of a different story here. Nebraska actually, even though they kind of went and handled business, they did that on the ground. Nebraska is 116th in pass EPA. Now, the interesting thing here is Colorado was 116th in pass defense. So to your point, if there is a team or there is a game he's going to have potential success, it very well might be, against Colorado. Now, the interesting thing about this is how much Colorado had to throw the ball in order to win that game. You can see that number there. It is 20% run rate over expected, 19.37. That means that this team had to throw the ball 20% more than average. Okay. That is insanity. And they're lucky to kind of get out of that game alive because of their, they were kind of going up against an inferior opponent. So to me, I think what you're going to see, if Matt Rule is smart, I think you're going to have them lean a lot on that pass game and then try to see if you can get some of the, they're going to lean on the run game, and then they're going to try to see if they can get Raiola passing the ball in some different ways. But I don't know that they're going to try to just exploit it overall, because again, if you're competent on defense, which Nebraska we know is, this is a team that was really elite last year and looks to be better this year on defense, it's going to be next to impossible for Colorado to throw the ball 20% more than an average team and have any success in this game. It'll just be way too easy to defend. And so I think the game plan here is going to be a lot of running the ball for Nebraska, a lot of ground and pound, and then some probably explosive attempts. Now, does he complete those? I don't know. But I think that that's going to lower the kind of cover, huge outsize cover for Nebraska. I still do think that it's going to stay in that 11 and under range just because of running the ball so much.
Shedeur Sanders threw for 445 yards and 4 touchdowns, and this team won by 5. And not only that they won by 5, North Dakota State had a chance to win the game on the last drive. And not even just that, the drive before that, if it weren't for a failed 2-point conversion, they wouldn't have even had to score a touchdown. Like, you talk about not only having one data point, for Nebraska and this true freshman.
Yeah.
And I get that, Kev, but we have a whole season about Colorado. We know who this defense is, and it is Swiss cheese. Now, yes, Travis Hunter, he's going to be a great NFL player. He's playing both sides of the ball, but this team got diced up by a North Dakota State team. Nebraska doesn't have to do much on the offensive side because they're playing defense on both sides of the ball. They have a better defense on the traditional defensive side of the ball, as Seth pointed out, and you look at their defensive EPA and their defensive power rating. But then if they ground and pound, they're keeping their best weapon, or Colorado's best weapon, on the sideline. That's a double whammy. If Colorado can't keep up and you make them one-dimensional, Nebraska is going to feast on this team. And we made this number originally -18, to put that in perspective. I have no fear in my heart. Now, listen, there are no such things as locks. Let me be clear. No such things as locks, right? But call me Master Lock because I feel like this thing is as absolutely airtight and solid as they come. But of course, it's why we play the game.
Yeah, I mean, and just to be fair, we gave out 6.5 of what all of our clients have. That's what we bet. And unlike the Texas game, I'm not chasing this. And you're actually starting to see resistance. Unlike the Texas game, we have seen resistance at the 7.5, 8. This got bought back down, is now sitting at 7. Now, I don't think it's going to go through the 7. And this is another game like live betting. If you see Shadur Sanders be able to throw the ball, Colorado's in business, and they're in serious business. Like, you take the money line. But what I think you're going to see very quickly is they're not going to be able to throw the ball. And again, they needed to throw the ball 20% more than an average team just to win that game. If they can't throw the ball, what are you getting? And it can be a long game. And so I think it's going to be a good game though. And I'm with you, Kevin. It makes it. I don't get a lot of happiness from a lot of things. I'm psyched to get to root against this Colorado team. And I don't know why.
You're generally like pretty miserable. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I feel like an immature kid here, but I just want to hate Colorado so bad, and to have like an analytical reason to get to do it. Like, sign me up, twice on Saturday, right? Like give it to me, baby.
Yeah. No, and not that this, past performance doesn't dictate future outcomes, right? But we kind of saw this last year, right? Colorado came in as his darling, upset TCU, and then who they play? Nebraska. And yes, they won that game last year, but you saw this whole thing about, oh, Colorado's so great. They put up so many points. The offense looks amazing. And then what happened the rest of the season, right? And so I think you're going to have teams figuring out Colorado a lot more quickly than last year. That sort of, shine is going to wear off a lot more quickly. You're going to have teams ready and able to game plan for Sanders, for Hunter, and I think you're going to see a pretty one-dimensional team fairly early in this game.
Yeah. And same goes on the other side when we're talking about live bets. If you see Dylan Raiola, they come out and they're throwing the ball like crazy and he is getting completions, it's going to be a long day for Colorado, because again, we're talking the 116th pass defense for Colorado. Now, Raiola didn't look all that great if you actually look on a per play basis, but if he is going to go up again, this is the team he can get right by. And so if they open with that, that's not good for you.
Yeah. No doubt. There, and just to wrap this up too, there actually is a 6.5 in the market. If Fanatics is in your state,
it's not real. It's not real. It's not real. I looked.
You did.
I did. It's not real. It's Fugazi.
They
just want you to open the app.
Well, I'm about to do it.
Do it.
They got me.
Do it. They got you.
All right. Well, shout out. Otherwise, it's pretty much 7s and a couple of 7.5s across the board. So, yeah. But we said it earlier. I mean, there's still value there if you can get it. So don't be shy. Do not be shy.
Did you confirm 7?
Sorry. Now it's making me enter a password.
Hey, listen. We fact checked on this podcast. All right.
Hey, I'm telling you, I looked earlier. I'd love to be wrong here. I'm hoping the viewers can get a 6.5 because it's great value. I mean, look, just purely playing the market. If the rest of the market's at 7 and you can get a 6.5, that's a good bet. Like, period, point blank. That's what we have.
A later game. You're correct. 7.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Shut up. Indeed. All right. Let's move on, though. We have, in my opinion, maybe a sneaky underrated game. I haven't heard a ton of discourse around it yet. I probably will in the next coming days here. But 2 ranked teams matchup week 2 here. We have Tennessee and we have NC State. So I want to get your take on this one first here, Steve. Again, both teams in this situation, both teams had an FCS primer in week 1. However, kind of very different outcomes in terms of how you're feeling. Tennessee just absolutely handled business, like no questions. They looked the part, right? NC State, they were trailing at the end of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, and barely made it out of there alive. So I don't feel great about one side of this. And Tennessee, Tennessee's looking the part, but I don't know. Tell me, am I off on this, or are you on the same page?
No. I mean, I really don't have much to add here. No, I think that's pretty spot on. we're seeing some teams early who are kind of struggling here. We see some teams who are really dominating early. I think you can put Tennessee in that category. And I think for me, what we care about the most is, or at least when I think of NC State, I think of a defensive minded team, especially against the run. And quite frankly, this year, that's not where they're at. And that may come back to bite them, right? You look at their defensive EPA, they're at 0.37. They're above that zero. So when you talk about defense, the lower the number, the better. The negative numbers are better. Positive numbers are worse here. And so I'm a little bit concerned about NC State going up against a vaunted Tennessee offense. This has the making to be a long day. Now we put the number at 8. I think it's at 7 right now. Is that 7.5 right now that we're seeing there? So I'm curious how this turns out. I think it has more potential for a close game than a blowout game, but there's definitely some trouble brewing here for NC State potentially if they don't get right quickly.
Yeah, this is moving actually a little bit. There's mostly 8s in the market now.
Okay.
At 365 actually is at 8.5.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
This is perplexing. Looking at the play-by-play data, you actually see something really interesting. Although, what's the quarterback of Tennessee? Nico. He looked like they looked good. They looked great. The box score looked sexy. But play-by-play, they were actually head over heels, more efficient running the ball than passing the ball. And I know that sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but to me, this matchup is, can NC State stop the pass at all? Because they can't stop the run. They're 119th against the rush. So it's going to be a long day if they can't stop the pass and the rush. Already, we know that Tennessee looked pretty good on the ground, so they could probably cover this just off that. But if you believe that they can slow Nico down, unfortunately, I think there is value at an 8. It sounds like 8.5. I don't know. It's hard for me to recommend this to anybody because I'm not chasing this myself. If it gets to those numbers, if it gets to a 9, a 10 at close, we might consider betting it. But no doubt, this is good. This is a gross bet, guys. This is disgusting. But I think if you're looking from a value standpoint, I know you don't want to hear this. You missed the boat. If you want to be a Tennessee backer, you needed to grab the 6 at the current 8.5s. I don't project this to be the same type of game as the Texas or potentially Nebraska game.
Yeah,
we just don't.
I would agree. This is also technically speaking a neutral site game, but they're playing in somewhere in North Carolina, right? So this is not even.
Gotcha.
This is one of those weird ones, but yeah, I'm with you. I think it'll be curious to see what the market does these last couple of days here, and I don't want to be in a position to really have to consider taking NC State. But yeah, we've gone through this drill. It's like deja vu over and over again. You know, you feel gross about some, but sometimes those are the ones that surprise you. You know, so value is value.
The other angle,
process.
The other angle, because I know people are going to want to be a Tennessee backer here, is you're basically you have a huge edge on the ground, like huge 24th rush EPA for Tennessee versus the 119th defense rush EPA for NC State. If you think Nico is going to be even more efficient than he was in week 1, and they're going to move forward, then disregard the market, disregard what our numbers say. Like, we can't forecast out how well this highly touted quarterback is going to progress throughout a season. So if you want to be a buy early kind of person, buy low, this is buying low. Getting Tennessee, if Nico becomes what everyone's saying, Heisman, then this is probably one of the lower spreads you're going to get him all season. So look, I don't want to tell you what to do, but that is an angle that you can convince me of. Just know what you're signing up for. You're betting hype and you're hoping things go in your direction. And that can happen. But just know what you're doing.
And not to be unmentioned too, I think pretty big playoff implications for both of these teams, actually. The ACC, Tennessee and obviously the SEC and then NC State, like in the messy.
But do we think
now,
ACC is going to get more than one bid? Because if not, then it's a huge game for them. It's a huge game for NC State because they may have
probably
to win
not
every game.
Early returns are no way. They're probably just getting one bid. But
yeah, at least Tennessee plays Alabama, plays Georgia. Right. Like, they're going to have chances.
Right. It'll be there's big implications as far as that goes for sure. So we'll see. But Tennessee, they look good. So all right, I want to move on now to another matchup. I'm calling them my darling until proven otherwise. Okay, Iowa Hawkeyes football is back, baby, against Iowa State. Yeah, this one's interesting. This opened at 3. We put this at only -1 in favor of Iowa, currently hanging at 2.5 now. So I want to believe, boys. I want to believe. It wasn't all that impressive in terms of a play-by-play efficiency standpoint by Iowa and Cade McNamara and co. But I mean, how do you not feel romantic about Iowa putting up 40 points in week 1? Come on.
Oh,
Give it to me. Give me that.
God, yeah. Right?
I,
Right. Does
oh,
Iowa? No. Go ahead.
Oh, I was hate on my end. Like I don't give a shit. Like, welcome to college football. It's been nice. We've been waiting for you for 40 years. Did you bring something other than a tight end? Did you bring a couple wide receivers this time?
Man.
Yeah.
Class A hater.
No, but I think that's spot on. And listen, we talk about the EPA data and the play-by-play data, but can we just take a step back and just enjoy it as a fan? McNamara put up 250 yards and 3 TDs in the air. Iowa had a receiver go over 100 receiving yards in a game, not a season, in a game. That's insane, right? Well, I mean, we never thought we'd see this. So, coming in through this, like I said, we go through and we essentially made this. I think at Post we had made this a 1-point game, right? Is what we have there. Yeah, thank you. And so I'm curious, right? Because if you're looking at the Iowa defense, right, you can see here on the chart here, you can look at their defensive EPA. This is a team that obviously historically has always been pretty dominant on the defensive side of the ball, and we expect that to continue. Negative pass and rush defensive EPAs, which is great. It's where you want them to be. But when you throw in an offense that is actually competent, this could be a scary team. And listen, I'm not going to say this is going to be someone that's going to dethrone Ohio State or a Penn State this year, but they're going to be in the conversation. Now, I know they don't have divisions anymore, but you mentioned Iowa was the team that got to the Big Ten championship game route because they had a fairly weak division, right? And so, you kind of get deep into the season where anything can happen. You got to be if you're an Iowa football fan, you've got to be excited. Now, on the flip side, Iowa State, again, as hype as I am about Iowa, that's kind of how I feel about the Cyclones right now. I mean, this is a rivalry game. You expect low scoring, you expect defensive battles to win out, but I don't know, man. I'm going to watch this game, and for the first time in a long time, I'm going to watch an Iowa game just to watch an Iowa game, and I think that's saying something.
Well, you're going to get your wish this week because we're betting this game. The model likes Iowa State. I think we have a 3.5, or maybe no. I think we do have a 2.5. If I'm not mistaken. Basically, the way that this game is going to go and the way we're going to cover is Iowa State is 25th in passing, 115th in rushing. So you're assuming Iowa State can throw the ball. You're going to have to see, can Iowa keep up throwing the ball? So you're going to get what you asked for week 2. Is Iowa a real deal passing team? I doubt it, but that's what they're going to be forced to do, in my opinion. Or they're going to have to shut down Iowa State throwing the ball, which I don't know is reality. But if they do, 115th rushing team, they can win the game that way. But I think if Iowa wins, I think it's more probable they win that way. Sure. 10-13, classic Iowa, just run, clock eats. I don't, are they dumb enough to think they can get in a shootout with Iowa State?
Probably not. I mean, this total is at 39.5, and it hasn't really moved off of that. I don't think they yet have any delusions of grandeur.
I mean, anybody want a friendly bet here? Like what I'll eat some crow pie or something. Like I
will you eat dog shit out of a red Solo cup?
I will not, and I will do the same thing. I would totally delete my account as well. I would delete my cell phone number. Like no one ain't getting in contact with me ever again. I'm just saying, I just find it hard to believe, especially what we talked about. If you just heard stuff coming out of camp that even they were struggling. The quarterback was struggling at camp.
Right.
I don't know. I can't. It's hard for me to see Iowa get into a passing shootout and beat Iowa State via a shootout. That my brain can't even comprehend that.
That's fair. That's fine. I won't fight you on that yet. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens in week 2, shall we?
Steve looks intrigued.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask this: how many points do you think Iowa's going to score this week? Then
20.
What's the total?
Or 39.5, right? It's the total.
Yeah.
20.
So, you know, we're basically saying it's a 21-ish, 17-ish game, you know. So I think to me, the over under for them would be like 21 and a half. Can
Oh
Iowa
yeah,
score
that's
more or less than 21 and a half?
yeah. That's a damn good line.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see. We'll see. All right, boys.
No edge on either side.
Yeah, we went through a bunch of went through a bunch of good matchups for this weekend here. Want to take a different kind of path that we normally do here. Normally we do this part at the front, but who cares? We're doing what we want to do. While you guys are here, though, appreciate that. Number one. Number two, make sure you hit the like button on this video. It helps us out tremendously. Don't forget also to please subscribe to the channel. Again, we do these shows weekly, try to break down as many marquee matchups, let you know what our data is saying, let you know what some other angles might be that you can deploy while you're thinking about your own college football plays as well. So let's hit zoom out now. We talked about a good bunch of good matchups. Let's hit zoom out and kind of take a 30,000 foot view at the state of the game right now, and kind of what are some prizes for you guys coming out of week 1 and heading into week 2. Because if we pull up, I don't know if we do actually we just have the model plays actually.
I think we have the matchup map. Hopefully we can get it up. But I can go. The first thing that I'm not surprised about, I'll tell you, is Alabama. I'm telling you, I've been in our lives been telling everybody, Kalen DeBoer has had success with multiple types of quarterbacks, including running quarterbacks. And what did we see? We saw one hell of an offensive efficient team where I think they threw the ball 13 times, but they ran it like 8 times. Like, they schemed up a better way to use Milroe this year than they did last year. And I think they are going to be very, very accurate with how they use him. They're going to be a lot of intent with how they use him. I'm not surprised. And then the other one, unfortunately, it hurts me because we had West Virginia, was Penn State. They looked good. They looked, they looked to be in that elite group. And won't be surprised if we see a Penn State and Alabama in the 12-team playoff.
Oh, for sure. I think for me, it's got to be Florida State. It's got to be Florida State, and maybe you're not. You're not. Maybe you're not surprised as you know. Oh, we expected DJU to struggle, and shout out Seth. I mean, you give credit where credit is due. You know, we talked about this in our preseason show about DJ Uyunglele coming from Clemson, having his time obviously terrible there, going to Oregon State, kind of balling out and coming back here, and then you were the first one to point out and say like, hey, are we really sold that, they're getting a great quarterback? And for me, I thought, oh, clearly it's Clemson. Clemson was the problem. I don't know if the ACC is the problem, but it sounded like DJU is the problem, right? I mean, this offense is terrible. I mean, like, obviously you have 2 back-to-back upset losses as ranked teams. And quite frankly, that BC game was never really close. And I think what's concerning to me, and I want to make sure I get this on the record, you look at these metrics, and Florida State's defense is going to get some blame, and they definitely deserve some part of the blame here. Don't get me wrong, but the Florida State offense went 3 and out. I think they had 3 or 4 straight 3 and outs in the first half. The time of possession was absolutely absurd. And when you put a team out there, a defense out there that's going against a team that's known to grind the ball out, even in the Bill O'Brien offense, like, what do you expect is going to happen? They're going to get tired. They're going to get worn down. And you're going to see pockets open up. And it wasn't just like it was the O-line and DJU got rushed every play. That definitely happened. There are definitely some pressure plays, but he's missing wide open targets left and right. I mean, he missed like 3 straight end zone attempts at one point late in the game. I mean, now shout out under Florida State season win total, but Florida State, dear Lord.
Did you see what it's currently at?
No. What is it?
5.5.
That's so sad. I know.
What is the CLB on that?
Poor DJU, man. Like, more like DJU. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, he is so bad, dude.
He's getting paid though. Good for him, man.
Yeah.
Would you rather be underpaid or overrated? Like, over and over and over is the best question of all time.
Yeah.
So we spoke on him, and I want to bring up one other person as kind of one of my big takeaways. So, like, FSU's kind of poster boy for they had the worst weekend, worst couple of weeks to start the season, but maybe a close second, in my opinion, is Clemson, and maybe more specifically Cade Klubnik. I wanted to get your take on this, Seth, and like how Fickle is using something like team talent and blue chip ratio as part of an analysis here, because like Nick Saban said on the game day, I think was it this week, he's like, if you don't pay the right players, you're shit out of luck, right? And when you have a 5-star DJU 5-star, Cade Klubnik 5-star, what's that guy's name from A&M? 5-star Connor something, I forget. All those guys had really difficult week ones.
Yeah.
And when you have a 5-star prospect, particularly at the QB position, that is struggling or doesn't actually end up playing like a 5-star, damn, that sucks.
Yeah. No, that's a really good question. I mean, it's just like anything though. To any type of subjective, approach to something where you're putting a grade on. It's no different in the draft. Think about how many first round busts there are. Shout out to the Bears under 8.5 because this exact reason. Like, it's very difficult to effectively be accurate at determining talent across every player, right? It's the aggregate that you're trying to get. And so if there's 100 5-stars, you're saying, okay, well, a proportion, 80% of these will go on and do XYZ, right? Or 70%. So it's tricky. It's tricky and it's not perfect. I mean, that's why people like Bud Elliott that know these players intimately and know these rosters intimately, they know the nuance between a DJU 5-star and, Nico 5-star, right? Like, these are different types of players, different caliber of players, but yet same rating. So I think it's a good point. I mean, we do still see in the data that overall team talent is statistically significant. So it's accurate enough to get us closer.
Yeah.
Can you take further steps on there? Yeah, for sure.
Of course.
For sure. But you got to quote unquote no ball, right? You like Bud Elliott spends his whole summer going to camps and literally doing summer school where he's breaking down every single roster and he's living and breathing rosters. So, that's what it takes to have that level of nuance.
Yeah, but can we also not overreact, Kev? I mean, I don't want to equate Clemson to Florida State in terms of who had a bad opening week. I mean, we saw this last year, right? Clemson, lost 20-7 to Duke as a ranked opponent. Everyone flipped out. Everyone lost their mind. Clemson football is dead. And then they went on to have an 8-4 season. Actually finished 22nd in the CFP final ranking. So I'm not willing to write off Clemson just yet. If this was Clemson versus Georgia Tech or Georgia State.
Sure. That's really
yeah, that's a whole other story. But against the team that I think is week, all can agree is the front runner to win the national championship in week one. It's not a great look, but I don't think Clemson's season is dead.
No,
piggybacking off that point, is Carson Beck a sneaky good bet for Heisman? He's not getting a lot of love right now, but we know he's going to play all of the teams and all of the players that are going to get the love. And therefore, he's going to literally, if they go and win the national championship or they go to the playoff, he's going to have to slaughter each one of those quarterbacks' dreams, right? He's going to have to beat them. And so it's like little by little, he almost like eats the competition and just gets the probability.
I guess define
Oregon looks
value.
bad.
Sorry, I guess define because just looking at FanDuel's odds currently, 3-way tie for shortest odds: Gabriel, Dart, and Cam Ward, and then followed by Carson Beck. Those first three guys have plus 850. Carson Beck's plus 900 to win.
Okay, so it's high is I think your point, right? You're not like getting plus 40,000. I'm just saying this is quickly. I mean, I've been trying to think of angles here because we got a little bit of data, and I'm not sure if I'm kind of leaning towards using it. Oregon looked not efficient. And when you look at weighted EPA, which is telling you it's weighting up and down plays that are predictive for future success, they're one of the worst offenses in the nation based off weighted EPA, which means that the way they got out of that game doesn't mean it's going to work going forward. Now, it's one game, so you don't want to overreact. But if we are able to kind of use as some information that, hey, Oregon might be in trouble, they might not be the team that we think they are, that's a huge chunk of Heisman probability, Big Ten probability, playoff probability that's got to go to other teams. Yeah. And where is it a good place to put it? Penn State keeps coming back to me as one of those good places because they're in the Big Ten. They can be the one that, supplants Oregon, and they're the team that goes, along with, say, Ohio State. And you could currently, I still think you can get them at plus 2,000. But on the Heisman market, I've been trying to figure out, is there a play there? It's still very early, but I'm just like Carson Beck is going to have one of the most compelling stories, period. If they beat Alabama at Alabama, they beat Tennessee, like these are huge wins that are going to look probably the most impressive.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, well, I mean, if we're going to make it, or if you're going to pull the trigger on something like that, sooner the better, theoretically speaking, or else the market's going to kind of catch up with you. But so if you figure something out, please let the people know.
Yeah, no, I will. Look, Penn State right now, I think is a good bet to win the national championship. I think you're going to be in a really, really good position come the beginning of the playoff, if they're in it, to do some damage with that ticket and make some real money. If not, have them actually win. I don't know that I would use it that way, but I really think you're going to be in a position to win some money.
Yeah, and if we can just real quick to wrap up, Seth, I know you talked about this on our preseason show, but looking at the CFB playoff kind of picture and some angles there, trying to get some value. If Penn State, I like your take there. I like your angle. You've convinced me, but a Penn State ticket to win the national championship, if you can get that now, or if Penn State loses, I guess they go to the Big Ten championship and then lose, that would be, like you mentioned before, would be a great ticket to potentially have. Huge. Just because how we know the seeding is going to work this year. Exactly. You can get some sneak value on Penn State futures.
Yep, agreed.
Okay. All right. Speaking of value, speaking of tickets cashing, we got to talk about it. Let's dive into it. Model predictions for week 2, ladies and gentlemen.
Look at all so much volume.
Once again, volume. Yes. So pretty big slate again. We were on we were recording, streaming when the openers hit this past weekend, and it moves fast and it moves fierce. We've added a couple even since then.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot going on, a lot of dollars on the table, a lot of anxiety, a lot of pills will be popped this weekend probably, but nonetheless, we ride, boys. So Seth, let's let just high level here. So a lot on the card. I don't necessarily think we need to break down every game. We'll give our official plays here in a second, but one or two that stand out to you in terms of, I feel great about this one, or the flip side, like, wow,
feel great. Texas 4.5. I know that it shows 6.5. That's what our clients got. We were able to snag a bit of a 4.5, and now hopefully some of our clients got 4.5 as well. But even the 6.5, I like a lot. The one I'm shaky about is how much our model likes Arkansas. Now the market's agreed with us up until this point. This has gotten as low as 7.5, but we're starting to see buyback at the 7.5 is now sitting at 8. It's a lot of faith to put into Arkansas against a team that, to be honest, everybody was low in going into the season. Now they look damn good against that FCS team, but Oklahoma State looked good as well. So I'm a little shaky there. Again, we already talked about super psyched to get to bet on Nebraska from the model perspective and bet against Colorado. And a lot of volume. So with volume comes variance, and this could be a wonderful weekend or a bad weekend. We want to obviously point out week 1, our record was 5-7. So unfortunately a losing week 1, but we're pretty close to break even there. So not too worried as of now, but this is a huge slate. This is going to be a big weekend for the model. No doubt about it.
Yes. All right. Which one of you has up kind of what the numbers that we got and the ones that
wait, can I give my opinion?
Oh yeah, my bad.
Can I speak? No. I was going to say 2 things real quick. It's for those of you who might be new to this. Yes, you're gonna hear us say this over and over again. Week by week, you're gonna see variance. You're gonna see really great weeks, and you're gonna see some losing weeks as well. That's sports betting. And so like last year, we had a 7-0 week, and we had an 0-5 week.
9-0.
9-0. Oh, sorry. Yeah, let me not give credit where credit's due. 9-0 week, and 0-5 week. Right. So you're gonna see these swings here. But the one thing you have to keep in mind, if you're taking our bets, if you're making your own bets, whoever you're following or however you're making your own bets, closing line value, right? Are you seeing these bets? Are you seeing the market agree with you and the lines move in your favor? That's how you know your process is working, whatever your process is. And even if you lose here and there on a week-to-week basis, if you're seeing CLV, you're on the right path. Keep pushing forward responsibly, of course. And we did see CLV. We saw a ton of CLVs on these games. Now, this is not an excuse. There's no moral victories, but it is a good way to measure how your process is working. The last thing I'll say is, I'm most excited about those games you already mentioned, but also Oklahoma versus Houston. We were able to get a -27 when it's open. That's up to -29. That is huge value, trying to get under that key number. And that's a big part of why we do this. Betting openers, when you have an edge, you can identify value in the market that you may not see ever again. So pretty stoked about that.
Yeah. All right, Kevin. I'm ready. I have all the picks.
Hit me, baby. Rapid fire.
All right. So we start Friday. SMU -11. Actually think that number is still available if you want to tail. Moving into the Saturday slate. I don't have these by time, so these are just going to be all the games we got on Saturday.
All good.
Auburn -13. Iowa State +3. Illinois +5.5. ECU +2. Washington State -1.5. Rutgers -23. Arkansas +9. Baylor +17.5. Nevada +3.5. Oregon State -4.5. OU, Oklahoma University -27. Pitt +2.5. Nebraska -6.5. Texas -4.5. We also gave out to our clients -6.5 Texas. So either way, 6.5 for 1.5. That
Take
is
a
the
breath.
card.
Take a breath.
Yeah, I need to.
Mm.
Well, and then Sunday morning, wake up. Oh, NFL. Then we have 5 more plays. So it's going to be a busy weekend for us. And
Yep.
then we got to bet the openers on Sunday. I mean, this is when this is the exciting time. This is the nervous time. This is like just this is I'm in the feels.
Yep. And we give out all these plays to our customers, to our clients, at open. So
Yeah.
when when Sunday afternoon rolls around after all the college games have been played, this is when we place the vast majority of these bets. So
2 Eastern, right? 11 a.m.
What was it? I
Yep.
forget. Yeah. So
Yep.
I guess point being, it seems like it's a lot of volume, and some people might, I don't know, feel weird or wary about that. But to Steve's point earlier, there's several of these bets that you can't even place anymore because the value is gone, and we're on the right side of the market movement. So that, again, just to hammer home the point, in part why we do what we do and how we do. And why we do it.
I can give you some examples here. ECU, I said that we have a +2. That's now currently sitting at -2.5. That's an 18% edge. Washington State, we have a -1.5. Currently, that's a 2.2% edge in the market. Arkansas, 2.1% edge in the market. Baylor, 11.36%, meaning the price that we paid and the price you can currently get means we have that implied edge. Oklahoma, 13.9%. Pitt, 2.2% edge. Nebraska, 4.78%. And then this Texas one is huge because we got a 4.5, 16.9%. So
huge.
Yeah. Those, so that's what professional betting looks like, guys. The edge is now in our favor because the number we bet is now available at a much more expensive price, meaning we have the edge in our favor in that difference. And that's what you're looking for. That's what you want to measure. And that's what Steve's talking about when he's talking about CLV.
Yep.
Now, these markets could change.
And if
we're not at close yet, but
if you want to hop on this, check the link in the description, btb-analytics.com. Memberships all year long, weekly, monthly, or season long. So if you guys want to hop on, come ride with us.
Shout out.
Ride or die. All right, everyone, appreciate you guys being with us. Again, don't forget to hit the like button on this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're here every single week and in between putting out other content for you guys. So do not be shy. Let us know what you guys think in the comments too. What games are you most looking forward to for this weekend? What games next weekend you want to see us break down? Or what else are you thinking about as far as handicapping these games? What our models say, what our data say. Happy to go into detail onto pretty much any of it, frankly. So let us know in the comments. Otherwise, see you all next week for College Football Preview Week 3. We're out.